Shelley Archer, thank you for coming to the Court Wine Bar this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're missing Parliament?
No.
Why not?
Why?
Surely you are the limelight?
No, I didn't like the limelight. I love the work. So the only part that I really miss is the work that I did. Being in the limelight, I didn't enjoy it, didn't want it and didn't ask for it.
You are married obviously to Kevin Reynolds, who's a very prominent figure in the WA community.
Yeah, he sure is.
Kevin and like yourself, you're both very passionate about the trade union movement.
Yes.
Shelley, what did you think about the Qantas dispute?
I think Joyce should be sacked immediately.
I mean, do you believe that him grounding those airlines damaged Australia?
Yes, it did. It damaged our tourism, it damaged Qantas, and it certainly damaged quite a number of lives in terms of them missing their planes. I think his behaviour was appalling.
And Joyce tried, of course, to pass the buck to the trade unions and say it was all their fault.
Of course.
I mean, that's a pretty standard corporate ploy, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's standard for him. He doesn't want to accept any responsibility for his actions. He refused to negotiate, and by refusing to negotiate, we've ended up in the situation where we are.
You were to the right of the Labor Party, is that how you would have described yourself?
More the centre.
Did you make good friends on the Liberal side of politics?
Yes, I did.
You did?
And I still have quite a number of those people in my life today. And I was quite fascinated when I became a Member of Parliament because I didn't think that you spoke to the other side.
What about the Greens? Anyone you speak to there?
No, unfortunately.
So you're more friendly with the Libs than what you are with the Labor Party?
Well, I think during the time that I had the Troubles, the Liberals were far more supportive of me than the Greens or the Labor Party. As far as I was concerned, the Greens and Labor wanted to annihilate me, and hence that created some tension in relationships that I had. But the Liberals supported me, they knew the legislation, they knew how Parliament worked, and they could see quite clearly that what was happening was wrong.
And Shelley, they were very tumultuous times when Alan Carpenter was putting pressure on you because of your friendship with Brian Burke. And what came through that episode for a lot of people is you were going to stand by Brian Burke because he was a friend.
Absolutely, and we all make mistakes. And as long as you admit that you've made a mistake and you move on and don't do it again, you stand by your friends. Just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you walk away from your friends. You hang by them, you look after them, and you try and do the right thing by them. And as far as I was concerned, Brian Burke had done absolutely nothing wrong, and it's proven in the courts that he's done nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. So after...
And do you think that whole episode with Brian Burke and what followed after that was one of the reasons that Alan Carpenter didn't regain government?
I think it is. I think Alan Carpenter needs to take responsibility for the mistakes he made as Premier in terms of the way he treated
we saw the
Parliament.
fallout with John D'Orazio, we saw it with Jay Radisich. Parliamentarian after parliamentarian seemed to fall by the wayside.
Oh, well, and I think that goes to show the lack of loyalty Alan Carpenter had to the Labor Party. My history with the Labor Party was 30 years. He was maybe a member of the Labor Party for 10 years if you were lucky. I had a real deep-seated love and loyalty for the Labor Party. He didn't, and that was shown through his actions when he was the Premier.
And things are bad now, aren't they, for WA Labor, Shelley?
I think we're not going to win the next election. There's not a hope under the current leadership. I admire Eric Ripper, but I just don't think he's got the ability to take this.
Shelley, now that you're not in politics, are you doing anything that's a little bit on the side of relaxing?
Relax. No.
You don't. You're still running around at 100 miles an hour?
Yes, I'm back at university and I'm studying for my Masters in Indigenous Sector Management. I also do some consultancy work for Indigenous boards.
And do you think there will be more members of Parliament that are Indigenous? Now we've had Carol Martin in the Parliament. Can you see others coming through?
Listen, there's quite a number up there who I think would make outstanding members of Parliament, but I just don't think that the parties, whether it's Labor, Liberal or Greens, are actually looking at the Indigenous people as members of Parliament.
Shelley, you've seen some of the Indigenous camps in the north of our state, and frankly to me they're a disgrace. What do you believe the solution is to it?
The solution is multifaceted, but I think the first thing that we need to do is to actually listen to what the Indigenous people have to say. We sit down and we hear, but we don't actually listen to what they say. We don't listen to what they believe are the solutions for their problems. It's not up to me or to you to say to them, this is the solution. They need to provide us with the solution, and then we need to follow it.
Okay, look, Shelley, thank you very much. I think we could have talked for hours.
I think we could have done too.
We'll do that some other time, and thanks for
Okay.
coming to the Court Wine Bar this afternoon.
Great, and thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Shelley.
Thank you.